Welcome to the Reseller Locker Room, everybody. My name is Jake. I go by J-Ride Flips. This is my co-host, Sunny Las Vegas. Welcome to the Reseller Island. Here on the island, we like to kind of think of all of ourselves as coworkers. We know that reselling, especially on eBay, can be typically pretty lonely. So we'd like to do a podcast where we all kind of just commingle, kind of exist on an island together and kind of, have support as we go through this eBay and reselling experience. Today, we wanted to talk about the pros and cons of cross-listing. Is it for everyone? Is it for only a select group of people? Who actually benefits from cross-listing, and is it something that you should be implementing in your business? Sunny, what's your experience with cross-listing?
When I started out, it seemed to be like a magic platform. I started off on List Perfectly back when I won a month subscription of their best platform at the time. Right away, I had an eBay listing for $145 for a polo hat, and it sat on there for months. I took it over to Mercari, used cross-listing, and it sold within 24 hours for $135. So to me, the answer was, it works. Thinking about it now, I don't know if it actually worked because of cross-listing, and it was the item itself, of course. So there's a lot of things I've been thinking about since. So after 2.5 years, I stopped using it because I realized I was putting a lot of time into cross-listing of not getting very much sales on Mercari and Poshmark. And my main one has always been eBay. And then Whatnot came along, and that started being a little different, taking me more towards an auctioneer seller. But I found that at the time it didn't work for me. And when I stopped cross-listing, I also stopped promoted ads. And I found my sales to just sink down fast. It just took up a lot of time that wasn't working for me of what was actually selling and not selling.
Yeah, I currently cross-list, but I'll just give a quick synopsis of how I got here. A lot of you guys have heard this story before, but I started reselling about 2 years ago. We're at like 2 years and 3 months, something like that. I owned several different businesses. In my local town, I owned a pest control company, and I would just, go around and spray houses, make sure that bugs weren't getting inside. That was something that I did for 5 or 6 years, and everything was going really well. But one day I just came home and I saw Gary Vee on YouTube doing the trash talking. That's what got me into eBay. So then I immediately went to thrift stores and I started looking for mugs and things like that to sell on eBay. And then I had the first day that I listed, I actually got a sale. So I'm like, oh sweet, this is awesome. So then I hopped over to YouTube and I started searching how to sell on eBay. And I quickly came across Daily Refinement, and he made a ton of videos also talking about his colleague Tech in Sports. And they always said that you should not cross list, that it's something that can be detrimental to you and your eBay business, and you should just focus on one platform. And I stuck to that advice for the first 1.5 years of my business. And I'm actually glad I did. I actually do recommend that the average beginner really learns the nuts and bolts of eBay like they say you should, and like I did. So I actually learned how to sell on eBay. I understood exactly how returns worked, how shipping works. I understood all of these principles. And then once I had sold 6,700 items on eBay, I finally started to cross list to Poshmark. And then a month after that, I started to cross-list to Mercari. And now I'm actually very glad that I have started to cross-list, but I'm also very glad that I didn't cross-list in the beginning because there are a few hangups from cross-listing. So I really recommend that you guys really establish yourself on one platform, learn it completely, and then you can branch out and start cross-listing onto other platforms like I did with Mercari and Poshmark. But did you start right out of the gate cross-listing, or how did you really start?
No, I was strictly on eBay. So I've been reselling since 2017, February 2017. And it wasn't until about 2.5 years ago when I came across List Perfectly, only because my tablet at the time just crapped on me and I couldn't use anything. And as a content creator, I needed something to draw on. And another reseller said, hey, go to List Perfectly. They're doing a giveaway right now. And they're giving away a membership for their platform of cross-listing, and also a tablet, a Chromebook, which I still have to this day. So I only did it for that reason. And I did it on the last day. I ended up winning, getting a Chromebook to help me create content, use the membership. So I figured, why not? It's a pretty good deal for free. It wasn't hard and it wasn't difficult, and it was working for a while until like most customers and resellers start to go in a different direction of what sells and what doesn't for them. You could have your best sources, and then a few months later something entirely different comes up that either you run out of or they're no longer selling. So I found that wave of things being different, and cross listing was one of them where it just wasn't paying off for me. And there was a lot of time that I figured, and as a business, time is everything. So I wanted to work smarter, not harder. I saved me like 4 hours with all the things that I was cross listing, opening up all these 50, 100 windows. Found it to be better off not using it and to see how well it'll do. And if it was worth doing, I could always come back to it. It's not like I have to put pride in a way and say, you know what, I'm not using it no more. Because I feel a lot of people do that too. They put themselves in this pride situation of I'm only going to sell on whatnot and it's not working, when you know you should be jumping back over, say, on eBay.
Dude, I got a new slogan and shirt idea. It's pride kills profits.
It does. It really
Not only
does.
what you're talking about, but a lot of people want eBay to be the same as it was 15 years ago, 9 years ago, 3 years ago. And a lot of people aren't willing to adapt to changes. And then they just don't make as much profit because you have to change, you have to adapt, you have to keep rolling forward as a business owner. And if you just stick to your pride of like, well, this was working for me 15 years ago, I don't understand why it can't work today, it's going to kill your profits. But yeah, so what I did was I just stuck with eBay for the first year and a half. And I'm a vision, goal, and executor kind of guy. Like I always have my 5-year plan, 2-year plan, 1-year plan. So my plan was to get to 3,000 items only selling on eBay. And then once I got to 3,000 items, I would start to implement cross listing. So I actually got to 2,700 items. And then I realized I'm sick of having this much clothing. And so at 2,700 items, I cross listed all of my 800 clothing articles and 600 wallets and sunglasses, accessories over to Poshmark, and things immediately started selling, and it was awesome. Then I still got my store up to 3,000 items. And then at 3,000 items, I started to cross list to Mercari. Fast forward 3.5 months later. So I've been cross listing for 3.5 months. My store has shrunk all the way down to, I think, let's see the exact number here. Let's go to my eBay store. I have gone from 3,000 all the way down to 1,607. So my store has almost been cut in half, and it's still shrinking every single day because I'm listing 15 items every day, and I'm selling about 14.9 items on eBay every day, and then I'm selling 4 on Mercari every day, and I'm selling about 10 per week on Poshmark. So just over 1, but not quite 2. And so as I'm cross listing, it's increased my sales dramatically, and my store is actually shrinking. And I'm actually super excited to see what my store shrinks down to. I think it's going to level out somewhere around like 1,200 or 1,300 items. But I can't contribute all of that to cross listing because I also have been doing whatnot shows where I'll just blow out 60 items in one hit. But I've only done that like 3 times. So that's like 200-ish items. All the others have just been through cross listing. But the majority of the reason why my store has shrunk is because I'm only focusing on fast sell through items.
Right.
So the cross listing sure helps, but it's only an extra 5 per day. What's really actually getting my store moving is just picking up items that actually have sold history and people are actually looking for.
What do you think helps you on cross listing more than anything? What about it helps you?
So I've been doing I'm invested into eBay. So I get their quarterly reports. They send out monthly, sometimes even weekly emails about the direction that they're trying to move. They talk a lot about eBay Motors, and they talk a lot about watches and handbags and things like that. But they're also talking, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, they're also talking about how they are limiting and almost completely eliminating their ad spend on Google. So there's promoted listings. So now they're kind of passing that buck over to us where we're supposed to do advanced promoted listings to get our items to show on Google. And they're greatly limiting how much they're actually advertising our items on Google. So I'm seeing that Mercari and Poshmark and these other smaller platforms are taking advantage of that and are using Google so that way they can build up their customer base, they can get people to their platform, and they're willing to sell items at a loss just to acquire a customer that their hope is going to keep coming back and spending money on their platform. So I'm seeing that a lot of my items from Mercari are actually coming because people don't go to eBay to search for a baseball glove. They just type into Google Mizuno Professional Series baseball glove 13 inches, and then they'll see a Mercari listing and they'll click on that, and then they'll use Mercari for the first time. And so that's what I see as a huge boost from this cross listing is I'm capturing a ton of people that are just looking up onto Google, and they're finding my listings through Poshmark and Mercari because those two platforms are really utilizing Google ad spend.
It's interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize the promoted ads go onto Google. I don't know if they are just thinking that it's only being on eBay.
Yeah, so there's the standard promoted listing, which a lot of people think that the promoted listing is just to get your item to the top of the search. And so I guess we'll go a little off topic here for a second, but people always ask me like, hey, like if I have a really rare item and I'm not competing against anyone, do I actually need to promote my item? And I always say, yeah, if you want to sell it quicker, then yes, because that's only one of the many functions of promoted listings. A huge promoted. So speaking from experience, I really like to collect basketball cards, and I have a monthly budget that I can't pass because I really enjoy. That's the only thing that I actually like to spend additional money on that I shouldn't. So I will look up a Giannis basketball card, and I will click on it. I'll click on one that I like. And then a lot of times underneath that, there's 4 other promoted listings that I like better. And I click on that one and I buy it. It's not the exact same card. It's not a 2018 Giannis Prism Green that I clicked on. There's also a 2021 Giannis Optic Sky's the Limit. And I'm like, oh, that card looks cool. So I click on that promoted listing. I never searched Sky's the Limit Giannis and it showed up before other non-promoted ones. I searched for a completely different card, and then through eBay's information that they've gathered on me and through the promoted feature, I found that card. And if that person never promoted that card, I never would have bought it from them, and it could still be in their shop today. So that's one of the other functions from promoted listings. And there's also a ton of different functions that they use, but it's not just, hey, get my item to the top or second or third of a search list. It's also in all these other facets and functions too.
It's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, the advanced promoted listings, the offsite ads, it's actually like as an investor, this is pretty ingenious by eBay. A lot of the investors really like what eBay is doing right now, because instead of them spending $1 million a day on Google ads, they're getting me and Sunny and everyone else that is, I mean, I don't use the advanced offsite ads, but people who do, they're the ones paying Google. It's coming out of their pocket instead of eBay's. So yeah, that's what's going on with the advanced.
Yeah, there's so much tools in eBay. I wish it was a little bit more user friendly, like trying to find a timeout. If the search engine was so user friendly to where you could just type it in and it'll populate up. But there's a lot of little things I'm finding on there that I could see what's trending and what's not. But then it takes a while to try to remember where it's at or find it. So a lot of unique things about it, which is a platform I want to get better at. I did for years was just strictly on eBay and learned what sold for me. So I kept looking for it. And then when the auction sites started coming up like Whatnot, that was another thing that just changed everything for me. And I think I made the big mistake of looking for items to sell on eBay rather than looking for the items that I was already selling. Now I was trying to cater to buyers that weren't even there yet and trying to understand like a blank slate rather than, hey, I have these valuable items and this is where I should be pricing it at, rather than a dollar start. When I know it's not nowhere near, it's worth more than $1. I screwed myself over. And I think a big portion of the community on there were doing the same thing because they wanted to entice people. I have the better deals. The lowest you could start is $1. So you really don't, because if you get the right people, it could go for much more, even above eBay prices for some people, depending on how popular or rare the item is or person.
Yeah. And another benefit of cross listing, and you really got to be careful with this because some people will take it too far. I talk about sell-through rate a lot, and I say you should really focus on high sell-through rate items, but cross-listing can enhance the sell-through rate of an item because you're getting it in front of more people. Some people hear that and they're like, okay, sweet. Yeah, so there's only one sold of a certain cassette on eBay. It has terrible sell-through rate, but if I just put it on other platforms, then it's going to go from like a 5% sell-through rate to like a 30% sell-through rate, and I'm okay with that. Or if there's a 30% sell-through rate item, but there's only like 4 sold and there's like 85 listed, people are like, oh, well, that's okay because I'll just put it on other platforms. But it doesn't inherently increase the sell-through rate unless people are actually looking for the item. So if it has very, very minimal sales, because a 50% sell-through rate with 2 listed and 1 sold is different than a 50% sell-through rate with 2,000 listed and 1,000 sold. More than 10 are selling every single day. So that means people are actually looking for them. So those items that have a 50% sell-through rate will probably actually have between a 60 and an 80% sell-through rate once you cross-list it because more people are actually looking for it. So I use this to my advantage for eyeglass frames and sunglasses. Eyeglass frames historically have the slowest sell-through rate of items that I pick up because just not as many people buy them on eBay. But if it has a strong enough brand like Ralph Lauren or Diesel or anything like that, I'll pick them up even if they have a pretty dismal sell-through rate, as long as there's a sold history there, because then I'm able to list them on Mercari and Poshmark, and then we're able to capture those audiences plus the Google ads. And so it actually gets up to the 80-100% sell-through rate that I'm shooting for because it's cross-listed. But don't fall in love with that idea of like, oh, sweet, I can start picking up 20% sell-through rate items because it'll triple in sell-through rate because it's listed on 3 different platforms. There has to be people actually searching for those items first.
How do you talking about listings? How do you feel about
Uh-huh.
when people say you find an item that has what imaginary sell-through rate that you could think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say they sell for $50 this magic item.
Yep.
Then you see people list it at 20 and 30. And
Yeah.
it's not bad, no flaws. They're all the same. They're identical. Do you
Yeah.
find that bothersome, or do you just not care and still list yours at the
No,
price?
yeah. If it's used, I don't care. Like if it's used, it's just like, okay, sweet, yeah, that's just a one-off. That's the beauty of eBay and reselling used items, is that condition matters and supply matters. So it's like if it's Walmart clearance, then it's just race to the bottom. Everyone, okay, this just went on clearance on Walmart. I'm going to buy it first and I'm going to sell it for $20 free shipping. And then someone else is going to notice it and they're going to go to Walmart and they're going to list it for $17.49 free shipping. And then they're just until it gets to a point where only the huge corporations that are willing to make 19 cents per product, that's where that lives. So it's called race to the bottom. But if it's just like like if it's like a baseball, a Mako baseball bat from 2014 that they don't make that model anymore, but people really like that model because it just has better power. I'm speaking about a specific model from
Mhm.
that's orange. People love that bat. And so there's really usually only anywhere from 4 to 18 listed at any given time. And so when 4 of them, so they sell for like $130, and when 4 of them pop up for $89, they just sell immediately. And then there's still the ones that are at 130. And people that come around and want the bat, they'll just pay for it because it's like, okay, well, it's there's only limited amounts. So
Right.
that's how things go for used items. But when it's new and it's still being produced, it's always just a race to the bottom, and it's whoever's willing to accept the least amount of profit because they have their operation set up. But for used items, it's just the market really dictates how much things go for, and those lower priced ones will sell faster, but the higher priced ones will still sell eventually.
I've
Uh-huh.
always done better with selling used items from
Yep.
sporting goods, apparel, electronics compared to retail items that are fresh on the rack. I do pretty good if I'm on top of it, like listing that same day or within minutes. Sometimes I do it right in the store, depending on where
Yep.
the little tag is on there. I'll throw it on the floor in the changing room if that's even open in some stores.
Yeah, it's just that race to the bottom mentality, especially if it's mass produced and there's a ton of them available. Because like there's like Facebook pages dedicated to Lowe's clearance and Target clearance and Home Depot clearance, and someone will like post like, "Oh, I just got this Moen faucet, normally 189 retail, just got it for $40," and then everyone rushes to their Home Depot, and depending on your location, it's usually right there for $40, and then all the resellers grab them and they try to sell them for 129. but then they're seeing that there's only 10 listed. They log back on 7 days later, there's 437 listed, and now they got to adjust their price, and then everyone just races to the
Right.
bottom, and then they usually balance out somewhere like $65 because someone is willing to accept a $3 profit on something that big, and that's usually how that goes down. But yeah, there's pages for everything on Facebook. It's wild. But yeah, some of the cons of cross listing, everyone's favorite. What happens if I sell my item on multiple platforms? What do I do? This doesn't happen very often if you're on top of it, but it does happen. It's happened to me twice. Out of my last, I don't know, 3,400 sales, it's happened to me twice. So what I do in that instance is I pick my baby and I protect my baby. So my baby is eBay. So if something sells on eBay and Mercari while I'm sleeping, I wake up, it's sold on both platforms. I cancel it on Mercari and I ship it on eBay because I'm okay with my lesser platform that makes me less money having a bit worse account health. And the way these accounts work is if you're just average, that's better than that's better than they need. So it's like if you can get 1 or 2 or 3 dings on your account, you want 0. But if you get 1 or 2 or 3, you're really okay because we're competing against people that ship their items in 13 days, and we're competing against people that will not accept returns and won't give money back, and then cases have to be open, and it's a huge headache. Those are the people we're competing with. So if you have 1 out of stock, 2 out of stock, it's one of the worst dings on an account, but it's not something to super stress about. So if you come across this instance where you sell something on eBay and Mercari at the same time, or eBay and Poshmark at the same time, if you sell more on Poshmark, cancel on eBay and then keep your Poshmark gravy train moving. If you sell more on eBay and you sell something on eBay and Mercari, cancel on Mercari and sell on eBay so you can keep the eBay growing and moving. That's what I do.
I have a couple of friends that admit that on eBay say they sell the same item on different platforms. The other one sold the day before, and they find out the day after it's sold on, say, eBay. They'll message a person saying this is no longer available. Would you be willing to exchange it for something else that I have listed, or would you like to cancel your order? Getting them to say yes, cancel my order, so that way it doesn't fall on them as I have to cancel your order as the seller, and then it does a strike on me. I have seen and heard of some people being really affected by canceling somebody's order for the first time without ever having any issues and having a good clean record on there. And then some people just get away with it. It happened to me, I think, 3 times in 1 year because I was confused with the weekend, not realizing that counted 30 after working hours on a Saturday. I got this whole other day. I didn't do the label until Monday morning, and then it caught me. My shipping time is usually within 24 hours. I just have it as a day, not the same day.
Well, you got to think of it also from this perspective when it comes to not fulfilling orders or getting dings and things like that. Aaron Rodgers has completed, 18,000 receptions. And if he throws 2 bad passes at any given game, it's forgivable because he's given us all of these amazing passes beforehand. But when Jordan Love, his replacement, hops onto the field for the first time, makes 9 passes, and he misses 2 of them, those 2 passes have a much heavier weight in our eyes as fans and in the eyes of coaches and people that are putting him on and off the field, right? Same thing with eBay. So if you've sold 18,000 items and you mess up twice in a year, it's 0.0001%. But if you have only sold 18 items and you mess up twice, eBay is going to give you much more weight on those 2 errors. Even if you've sold 180 items and you miss 2, that's over 2%. And over 2% is where you're starting to get into some troubled waters. And so eBay wants to make sure that you're going to take care of business moving forward, or they're just going to limit your traffic so that way they're not messing up on a ton of orders. And so what you got to do, you just got to sell a ton of items, make sure that you're scaling appropriately so that way nothing's breaking along the way. A lot of people try to scale too fast and then they start running into problems, and then eBay throttles their traffic or even suspends them from the platform because they don't want to create bad customer experiences.
Right.
So if you can do 8,000 orders and only mess up 2 or 3 times, you're going to be okay. But if you only do 80 orders and you mess up 2 or 3 times, it's going to weigh a lot more. Man, that was a dope analogy with Aaron Rodgers and
I
Jordan
know.
Love.
I was like,
Oof,
wow.
dang girl.
Just did that.
Pros and cons to cross listing, but if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said not to cross list, just focus on one platform. But just with the changes that have come, honestly, not really too many changes. I've shifted my mindset, and I think that cross listing is a really good way. And I'm not sponsored by Vendu. I'm not sponsored by List Perfectly. I'm not sponsored by Flip. So I'm not like selling you guys anything. This is just my own personal experience. I really do think that cross listing is a positive thing if you stay on top of it.
Yeah, I like List Perfectly. I'll go back to them. One thing about cross listing a specific platform was Vendu. I was hearing
Mm-hmm.
several other resellers on their lives and their pre-recorded videos saying that Vendu is free and you could use it. So when I tried it out, I was disappointed that it's not free. It was a 7-day free trial. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
like when people use those clickbait words because if you say it, it should be true, right? You're a community, you're trying to help people out. And
Mm-hmm.
once you lie, I can't trust you anymore. But it does rely on your track record and your history. Once you give all this good
Mm-hmm.
information and then all of a sudden you throw a bad egg out there, and then it's just like, I don't know if I could really follow what you're saying now.
I think cross listing is a good thing. You just got to stay on top of it. But it can become a very detrimental thing to your business if you aren't staying on top of it. Because if things keep selling on other platforms and you're canceling left and right, it's going to turn into some issues for you.
What
So
was pretty funny about cross listing when it came about is that people, even myself would say, I wish there was something to help me cross list on these items rather than starting over on each platform and then list perfectly. And all these other companies came out. And then all of a sudden, the big complaint was, well, we need automatic delisting. And
delist, yeah.
you give people what they want, and then it's still never enough.
Well, I hear that Vendu does it, that Vendu delist,
Yeah.
but I hear people like have issues with it too, that it like doesn't work like even half the time sometimes. So I've never tried it, but a lot of people, especially because if you have an open offer on something on Poshmark, then you can't cancel it if it sells on another platform, and then a lot of people run into that issue, and then I guess that's a hurdle for Vendu as well. So it ends up being not quite a true. I don't know. Software is weird, but yeah. Well, how was sourcing and selling this week?
I only went. Where did I go? I went to Goodwill twice this week, and both times were horrible. I did find like
Mm-hmm.
one or two items that were really good sellers, and for $3 should give me over $40. Other than this morning, I was invited yesterday from another reseller on TikTok at a state sale, and this is before it even opens up to the public tomorrow. So that was pretty cool. Of back to one of the first things I think we talked about was networking and talking to people and let them know that you do, even on social media. This person is on TikTok, they resell, and now they run estate sale. So it's pretty good to get that first dibs in before anybody. And I ended up taking my buddy Mikey Bags of Money, who is now getting into storage units, which that's going to be something interesting later on in the future for me.
Yeah, you're interested in getting into storage units and stuff too, right?
Very interested, but from what I see from him and Storage Auction Pirates,
Tough.
Mike, um, it's a lot of work,
It's
and
a
I'm
lot of
barely
work, yeah.
managing like what I have and selling at the flea market this weekend to get rid of some of my debt piles. It's a lot of work, and I'm really just focusing on like if I'm going to do this, I have to really be committed, which I am. I love making money.
Sourcing for me this last week has been good. I go every single day, but it's been spring break, so my wife doesn't have class and stuff. So we've been doing some more stuff. We're actually gonna go. We're gonna go to Sedona, Arizona tomorrow, actually, which will be a couple days ago when you guys are hearing this on Monday. But there's actually supposed to be a winter storm, so that's gonna be wild. But we're
We
still
had
we're still
some
gonna
flurries
hike.
in here this morning as I was going to Summerlin, towards Summerlin side.
Uh-huh.
We had some little snow flurries. It's pretty cold.
Yeah, no, that's what it's going to be in Sedona, but it'll still be cool hiking and some rain and snow and stuff. But hopefully the trails are a lot less crowded. That'll be nice. But I'm hoping to hit a few thrift stores while we're in Sedona as well.
Sourcing as much as you do,
Uh huh.
and you source a lot more than I do, even
Yep.
just starting 2 years. Do you really get excited about sourcing, getting up, thinking about it, finding items, or is it just oh, that's cool. I found another item and it sells for this much.
Yeah, so I'm just not a super emotional guy, especially in business. So it's like a lot of people are addicted to sourcing and they hate listing.
Guilty.
All of those factors are all the same to me. Sourcing, shipping, prepping, and listing. They're all equally as important. So I'm not super pumped to source and I dread listing. I'm just, okay, sweet, let's go sourcing, let's go list, let's get all the tasks done for the day. And what's really fun for me is just making money and doing, doing all that stuff. So yeah, I just go sourcing every single day. If I find something that's worth $600, I'm just like, cool.
Home run.
And
Yeah.
then if I find something that's worth $60, cool. If I find something that's $15 and it sells super fast, cool. Like I'm just part of the business. But it has been I went to an estate sale, and then a garage sale right next to the estate sale this weekend, and it was really good. I like the estate sales here in St. George because they're severely overpriced. Like they're awful. And so they do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so everyone goes on Thursday that's retired and doesn't have a job, and they buy a couple of things, but it's like severely overpriced. Like there was a Bose Wave system. Those go for about $130 on eBay. It was priced at like $250, and like just things like that. CDs they price at $2.50, and then that's not like terrible, but it's a lot for a CD. And they just overprice everything. And then on Saturday, they do 25% off. And so people come in and it's still just like 25% of $250 is still way too much money. On Friday, they do 75% off. And so I recommend going on the days that they don't have discounts because you can actually get all the good stuff. But when it's just so extremely high like this, everyone's like, dude, this is dumb. And so they leave without buying anything. And then if you're first in line on Saturday when it's 75% off, you can get some really good stuff. So I actually found the self-titled Taylor Swift CD, her first CD by Machine Records, and I got it for 61 cents because that's 75% off 250, and that sells for like 40 to 80 bucks. And then I actually ended up getting like 9 CDs, all worth around $20 to $50, and I got a $80 remote control and a Japanese edition Pink Floyd cassette. It's like super rare, so that goes for like 60 bucks. And I got all of those things for just like $9.61 because it was $75, 75% off. It should make me about $300 or $400 just from that estate sale, which was awesome. And then right next to it was a garage sale, and I was able to pick up 7 Xbox games that all sell for about $18 each. And the kid's like, you can just have them for 50 cents. It's like sick. That's what I'm talking about.
It was probably 2 years ago. I went to a garage sale. The parents were out there and they were monitoring their kids and they're letting the kids price stuff. And
Yeah.
as I was walking away, I saw this skateboard deck and it looked super retro 90s, had like this trippy gold on there, goldfish or a koi fish. So when I asked, I turned around, I was like, hey, how much is this? The kid's like, $5. And I was like, go ask your dad, you know? And the
Uh-huh.
dad's like, he looks at it and I was like, look, it's worth more than $5. And the dad looks at his kid and says, give him a price. And he was like, $5. And the dad's looking like, oh,
Uh-huh.
like, I want to step in, but he needs to learn. So I'm pretty sure he lectured them afterwards about it. But I felt really guilty about that. And now it makes me want to ask you, have you ever gone somewhere at a community arts or wherever you source from and felt guilty about buying something because you know it's worth more?
No, it's just all part of the game. And I don't just like showboat to people and things like that too. So it's all good. I've never felt guilty for buying something for cheap and selling it for more because that's just how business kind of works.
Right.
But I've also never like I don't know I just don't feel guilty about it because it's just
That's the
reselling
price you
is
pay for it, and you go on about the business.
yeah, no, it was just a transaction. We both agreed to a price. They could have refused to sell it for me at that price, but
Right.
they chose to do it, and so it's all fine. But yeah, like when it comes to like yard sales and negotiating and stuff, it's just if you agree upon a price and both parties are happy, then just go ahead and do it. Because especially at yard sales, people just want to get rid of stuff. There's some people that want to get top dollar at their yard sale, and everything just sits and they don't get top dollar. And then there's people that understand like, hey, I just want to get rid of this stuff, so I'm going to have a yard sale, and then if it doesn't sell, I'm just going to donate it anyway. So I might as well get $7 for this thing that's worth $85, because there's no chance I'm going to get $85 for it unless I put it on eBay, and I don't want to put it on eBay. That's so I'll just let it fly. I feel like that's a lot of people's mentalities at yard sales.
I was never into cards, but you just reminded me of it. I was at a garage sale, and garage sales and yard sale seasons, I believe, already started for you. They're kind of kicking off over here. I'm not seeing too much in my area, but more in Henderson, and that's just a long drive, which I shouldn't care about. But anyways, I ended up seeing some cards, and they were all boxed up, and it just said MTG. I had no idea what Magic the Gathering cards were.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady had $30, $20, $50, but you couldn't open up the boxes. So how would you really know if they were actually cards, right? It could have been dog crap. So people were looking at them, not really paying any mind because it says do not open. So it was really discouraging to even bother to ask. But for some reason, something told me was, it doesn't look like anybody's interested in this. When do y'all close or planning up on closing the garage sale? And are you going to, this was a Saturday, are you going to open back up tomorrow? Lee said, no, it's just today. We've already got the best cards out of there. And I was like, okay, I don't want to pay the amount you're paying for, right? I don't even know about these cards. So I said, all right, well, let's work a deal. If you close at 3 and I come by and the cards are still here, these decks, boxes of cards, how about I get them for $5 a box? The lady said, deal, because they're going to sell. And I was like, all right. Her friend just smirked at her. So I ended up coming back and it worked out. So I ended up finding hundreds of dollars worth of just individual cards just from one of the boxes. And I still have boxes I haven't even gone through, which, talking about MTG, there is a TCG player app you could use. And if you have Pokemon cards, you want to learn about them, that's even better. The Pokemon TCG player card app thing is so much more faster. It gives you value. You just got to see if it's a correct card, era, date, and so forth. But I guess what I'm getting to is telling people these community yard sales, and you come across items that are overpriced or so-called eBay price, see about talking to them and saying, if you have these left over, mind calling me or texting me and see if these are still available and we could work out a deal.
And sometimes if you really push it and you use sales tactics, you can just get it for that price right then and there too. But that's always tougher. But that's what yard sales are and stuff, is just, getting stuff for cheap, helping people get rid of their stuff. Because you can always tell when people are just trying to get rid of things, and you can always tell when they're like, oh wow, this is your 18th yard sale this summer, what's up?
This is my sell price, not to sell price.
Exactly. But yeah, sales have been pretty good. Like I said, my store is shrinking, and so I'm just waiting for the day where I start to get less sales per day. But I just keep putting high, fast sell-through rate items in my shop, and things just keep going well. I'm just looking here at my sales this week. Price low to high to low. My best sell of the week was a Yamaha RX V673 receiver. Sold for $235. That was pretty dope.
Sweet.
Got that at a thrift store a long time ago for $15. Oh, dude. And then I sold a leg exercise, that little thing that you put under your desk and it just moves your legs for you. And apparently it makes you lose weight. Sold that for $180. Yeah, apparently it burns calories. Someone paid $180 for that thing, and that sold extremely fast. But yeah, my favorite sale over the last 7 days was a Rowenta Perfect Steam iron. Because I put it into a TikTok. I got it for $19, and I said, yeah, this sells between $150 and $200. And everyone's like, you are stupid. Oh my gosh, there's no way it sells for that. This guy's lying to people for views. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. It sold for $167 in under 12 hours. So I definitely could have got probably the full 200 if I wanted to. But yeah, people just, especially on TikTok and Facebook. And there were like even some resellers. They're like, no, I'm a reseller. I know for a fact it doesn't sell for that much. This kid's lying. Don't listen to him. Sold for $140 plus shipping, $167 out the door.
Speaking of TikTok, which we're going to talk about in a moment, but there
Yeah.
was something in your video, an orthopedic foot, a two-tone brown or green. Again, I'm colorblind, but this thing that vibrates that you put your feet on is supposed to help
Blood
circulate
circulation.
blood in your legs. I guess people freak
Uh-huh.
out. And this was like about a year and a half ago that they sell for around 130, 145 bucks. And I remember somebody on YouTube saying, there's no way they sell for that much. They only sell for maybe 30. It took 4 months, but it did sell for $115 plus shipping,
Yep.
which was like $35 FedEx ground. It's so easy to look at listings and yes, what has sold. I tend to look at what has sold recently and what has sold the most for. Like I want to kind of look at all the below, in between, and up above. Like I just want to
Hmm.
have some more understanding. And I'll look at why these higher value items priced compared to the ones that were sold for less. That's taught me by bad buys that I bought from people that have listed things that weren't in the best shape. When I
Hmm.
became a reseller and my wife was telling me about thrifting, I had no idea that these were resellers and what resellers were until she broke it down and told me, and the light bulb went on.
Well, along with that, the first video that actually popped off and made my channel what it is today, I, I talked about using keywords. And in that video, I showed it's fun. It's funny to like look back at that video and see the changes that I've made in my content since. But in that video, I bought a Kobe Bryant Easter T-shirt off off of eBay for $2 because it was listed as Nike shirt, and I bought it for $2, and I bought a ton of other clothing from that account, so that way the shipping was close to nothing and the overall cost of goods. So I got that shirt for like $2.70 because it just said Nike shirt, but I saw the Kobe logo on it, and then it was an all over print with just this cool like design, and I knew that that was the Easter design because I just did a little bit of research on it. I ended up putting Kobe Bryant and Easter and all over print in the description, and I sold that shirt a few days later for $48. And so like that's like how you can distinguish yourself and be better than the pack is just by understanding keywords and what things actually sell for. Because a lot of times people will sell like I'll see things that people sold for like $40. I'm like, dude, you left like $48 on the table because a lot of like especially like with remote controls, if you just type in Sony DVD remote white, a lot of those only go for like $8 to $15, and some people won't even look it up. They'll just put Sony DVD remote and then they'll put it up for $11. And there's a lot of these remotes that have one or two buttons that make them worth $85. And so I'll snipe those all the time too. I know what I'm looking for, and I'll just find these remotes for $8 plus shipping. I'll pay $12 for them, and then I'll sell them for $85 because it has those special buttons on it. And so like that's like a lot of people like everyone's always like, dude, you don't get those prices, or oh, you only get those prices because you sell to your followers. It's like, no, dude, like there's just a ton of a ton of things that people don't know that you can take advantage of and sell them for more money. Like these Oakley Jupiter Carbon Ferrari collab sunglasses. I sold frames only, super scratched, for $150 plus shipping that I got at a flea market in Las Vegas for $5.
Stay away from my flea markets.
Dude, the flea market in Vegas is it's like a 7 out of 10. It's not amazing. It's not bad. It's definitely worth going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really good. So I knew that Oakley would sell well, obviously, and everyone knows I sell a lot of sunglasses and a lot of frames. But I noticed that this pair of sunglasses sold for $89, not scratched, like the sunglasses sold for $89 because they left out the word Jupiter Carbon. And so I saw that keyword and I knew that it would sell for more money. So I put Oakley Jupiter Carbon Ferrari sunglasses with the model number, frames only, and it sold for $150 without the lenses. And someone only got $90 for it because they didn't know what they had in significantly better wearable condition. And that's the game we're playing every single day. And that's why I'm able to get some of the prices that I do for the items that I do, because you just look up a little more keywords on the items
Right.
and you sell them for more money. I've had a lot of good sales this week. Things are rolling. I know that Kevin gets the gets the
Tupperware?
saying or whatever. No, Kevin gets the when in doubt parted out, like that's his or whatever. But like, dude,
Are you talking about
I
Kevin Cumming?
yeah, Kevin Commonwealth.
Okay.
Commonwealth flipper picker. Dude, I part everything out. I sell so many pieces of vacuums and so many pieces of food processors and blenders and everything. Like I love buying one item for $8 and then selling 7 of its parts. Like I think once I move up to northern Utah, we're definitely going to get a place that has I'm either going to get a warehouse or I'm going to try to buy a place that has at least a 10 by 24 shed in the back, and I'm really going to dive into parts and things like that because I'm selling a ton of parts, man. Ton of food processor parts and blender parts and vacuum parts. You got any big sales or funny sales or anything like that?
Some really good sales of things that I've been or picked up from a rummage sale out in California that I was invited to by the lead personnel of their fire department. I got some friends that got to go with us, and all but a couple of plates, some vintage Limoges plates that are very valuable. They're vintage and they're smaller, like little saucers, little tiny things, 4 to 6 inches, and they're going to be long sellers, but they're worth getting. And for the rummage prices that I bought the stuff for, it's really good. But I sold a tortoise glass cup. It looks like a cheetah print. I was calling it tortoise, and I was getting bombarded with being corrected that it's pronounced tortoise. So I got that down. So far, I learned something from the comments myself all the time. But that sold for $27 plus shipping.
Nice.
I did sell it for the asking price with the better offer option, although it was bought by somebody who appreciated the content that I'm sharing. So
Oh,
this
nice.
is one viewer buy that I've had, I think, in a very long time. Not everybody comes out and says, "Hey, I watch you and I bought this," but this one did, and it was really nice. But other things that I bought with that, some Carhartt pants, which within 2 days they sold size 28 by 32, sold for 15, and then several other things from that every week, almost just about every day, I've been selling something from that purchase. And I still have some cameras. If you are going to be down this weekend, I will have a box full of cameras, but a lot of them, I don't know if you'll be interested in because they're like old vintage film cameras, which they can be collectible, but it all depends.
No, the majority of the cameras that I sell are the digital cameras from like 2014.
I have a few.
Like yeah, like Canon and Sony Cybershots,
Yeah, I got
Canon
some
Power Shots.
electronics for you to check out.
I'll take a look at them for sure. Shout out to the Reseller Locker Room podcast. They do the pitiful sale of the week that I just share with you guys. I sold speaking of Canon Power Shots, I just sold one on Mercari. I sold a Isaiah Stewart Red Hyper Asiaism rookie card for $4.11 shipped. And I bought that card for $2. It cost 64 cents to ship it. So I probably made about an astounding 37 to 47 cents on that card. Pretty sick. Pretty
Still,
nice. Pretty nice now. But sometimes I like to just sit down and list cards. I have these two bad boys to list. This is a Victor Wet Banana. Just kidding, Victor Wembanyama. This is one of his rookie cards. This is selling for about $20. I got it listed today because it's going to go down. This set just got released a little bit. Little sports card talk. Carrie, you can tune in.
what's up? Shout
Once
out Gary
once
American
a
Arbitrage.
once a set is released, the first few cards of that set that get listed sell for a lot more, and then the price trickles down over time. So this card is selling for like $18 to $25 right now. It's 1 year from now, even though it's a true rookie card, 1 year from now, this will probably be selling for like $7 or $8, unless of course Victor Wembanyama is a generational talent, and then the market spikes. This might even be selling for like 50 or 60, but probably not. Then also Paulo Banchero. This is the rookie of the year from last year. When this card first came out, it was probably going for $20, $25, but now it's going to go for probably like $10 or a little bit less. So yeah, put a couple of these cards up today. I like basketball cards.
I can see.
Yeah, dude, I really enjoy basketball cards, but my personal collection has come down dramatically. At one point, I had 30,000 basketball cards. Now I think I only have 12,000. And I think I'm eventually going to get it down to about 200. I want just 200 really nice cards. and I'll have the rule of when I buy a new one, because the 200 they'll only be nicer, more valuable ones. So when I buy one, I'll have to sell another one. So I'm only staying between 200 and 250 personal collection cards. So yeah, there you
So
go, Carrie.
how did you go
You
from
can
that
enjoy
many
about 6 minutes
cards
of the
to where you're
podcast.
at now? Have you been reselling them?
Yeah, so on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, and whatnot, I have mystery lots. So I sell 10 cards at a time, and I have a guaranteed hit, which is an autograph or a jersey card. It's called a relic. It has part of their jerseys. They snip it up and then they embed it into a
Mhm.
card. So if you buy a mystery pack from me, it has a guaranteed auto or relic card. It has 4 guaranteed prism cards. So this is a base card. Man, we're talking a lot of cards right here. This is a base card, and then they have different parallels. So the border will be pink, or it will be blue, or they'll put like a shimmer over the top of it, or they'll put like swirls, different things like that. That's a different parallel. So I give a guaranteed hit, 4 guaranteed parallel cards, and then 5 guaranteed rookies. And I sell those for like $15. And I sell, I don't know, like 10 of those packs every week, and then I sell like 50 a week during the holidays. So that's what's got me from 30,000 down to like 12,000. And I just list the super valuable ones individually as well. But I've got plenty of cards still to open.
I was waiting. I knew you were gonna get up eventually.
Mm, mm. Sealed boxes. Oh, yeah. I love basketball cards. I have I had a special needs sister-in-law who loves basketball cards just as much as I do. So every time we have a deal that every time I go up north, she has to buy me and herself a box of basketball cards from Target, and then we open them together. And then every time she's down here, I have to buy two boxes from Walmart or Target and open them with her. And it's really nice because I go up there 15 to 20 times a year, and she only comes down here like once or twice. So I definitely manipulated my way into that deal.
Yeah, that's a sweet deal, right?
It's a good deal. It's a good, and then because this is where this came from, a box of cards that she bought me.
Sucker.
Oh, dude, everyone's gonna think I'm a jerk. It's just funny. I don't make her buy me cards every time we go up. It's funny. Sales were good this week. Um, yeah, things are just rolling. I'm really just focusing on things that actually sell, and it's weird they actually sell. It's pretty nice. But it's interesting always just to hear the what people are talking about. Especially, there's one of the main reasons why I like podcasts like this. I like to listen to all of them, and then people say like, "Oh yeah, my sales are super slow right now," or "Oh, my sales are really good." But what we do is we focus a lot on the day to day and the week to week of our business, and sometimes it can really affect our psyche. So it's better to look at things honestly on a quarterly or a yearly basis. There's a really cool quote that changed my life. It was one of the members of my church. He was giving a talk, and he said, "If you open the oven too many times to check on the bread, it doesn't rise." And so it's like if we're constantly obsessing and
Mhm.
looking and bread, I don't know if there's a lot of bakers out there, but the bread has to actually rise. You actually have to have the right environment of heat and pressure on the bread. And if you let out the heat too often, the bread never actually rises. And so a lot of times we're just like, oh, how are my sales today? Okay, sweet. We did $837 yesterday, but we're only at $212.73 today. Something must be wrong. Oh my gosh, I need to change everything. Oh my gosh, look, on February 26th, I only did $243.15. But the day after that, I did $742.95. But I'm still going to stress about the $243.15 because for some reason on a really large scale, it doesn't matter. But right now in this moment, it's emotionally damaging. Like, dude, just let the bread rise, just quit opening the oven, just relax. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah, I self-reflect on my business and really evaluate myself at least every few months because I'm always making
Yeah.
changes, but my always making changes, I am pretty disciplined at giving it time to see what the changes compared to the time before that. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe make some changes, maybe wait a little longer and then implement something new. Because I hear it all the time every week from some people of, you got to change and you got to do that, but they're not saying what exactly they're changing. So it makes me feel, if I was when I started and was hearing this from other resellers, not knowing anything about reselling, I got to change, I got to change. I was getting so anxious and clogged up in my head that I didn't understand that change has to be given time in order to
Yep.
understand what's actually is working and what isn't. And once you understand what is, it becomes so much clearer. And when it doesn't mean that it's entirely wrong, these little changes that you're doing. It just means you can make little tweaks and it could be so much more than what it is. So I've learned to also self-forgive myself of not falling into I suck at this, I'm not
Yep.
selling anything. I'm like, hey, I've come a long way even in a week. I've learned something that has
You're
benefited me mentally and physically and monetary wise.
Yeah, there's another quote from that talk. You guys ready?
Bring it.
It says, "Twigs are bent, not snapped into place." So as twigs are growing, the wind and everything, it like slowly melds and bends them into their shape. Work too hard or push too hard, it breaks and then it dies and it'll never grow again. And so this is a great talk. You guys don't have to be a part of my religion or even religious to get a lot of things from this. If you guys
Right.
wanted to check it out, it's called Endure It Well by Neil A. Maxwell. But Endure It Well, Endure, endure. Um, yeah, it talks about Jesus. If that's not your thing, cool. But like, there's like 8 minutes of this talk where it's just like how to be okay with being a bad person and being below average. Because if you just stick with it, if you just trust in yourself, trust in Christ, like everything is just going to eventually build up. And yeah, it's a dope talk. But anyway, we can't look at our numbers this often. We can't keep opening the oven. We can't just be like, okay, I had really bad sales today, so I'm just going to change all of my listings and I'm going to change my promotions and I'm going to adjust my rates and I'm going to do all this. And you're going to break your twig. Like just allow it to form over time because you need the pressure, you need the wind, you need all that stuff to create a beautiful tree. But if you just, I'm changing everything, it breaks. And now you're no longer a reseller and you're going back to your job or you're finding something else to do because you don't have enough patience to let your bread rise and to let your twigs bend. Dude, I love analogies if you guys can't tell. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, um, bread, twigs.
No, I
No
think
one
it's
can see
easy to understand regardless of what you believe in or not. Because we're
Yeah.
all about growth. And I've jokingly said this to my wife that um, people need to be like a tree and grow up, not grow
Mm-hmm.
sideways. Because people think of trees and they're not realizing there's different trees that some just grow sideways, become
Yep.
bulky, and not actually grow up. But I think when it comes to everything that I'm doing, I have a bigger picture of I'm not just a reseller. I'm not just trying to find things to sell. There's a purpose behind it. I like to hear analogies and stuff like that because it just refreshes you on what you may have forgotten because you felt overwhelmed by going ham one day of sure last week was slow or yesterday was slow and I'm fixated on these big numbers and J Rides over here is selling $80 remotes and I can't even find one that sells for $8 and they're using a lot of comparison with others rather than comparing themselves to who they were just a month ago and what they've learned from that. Even the low self-esteem of like I'm bad, I'm not good, I'm a horrible reseller, they're a lot better than what they were. And they got to give themselves a lot more credit and a pat on the back for not stopping. Because a lot of people want that are against resellers, like resellers suck and they steal from the poor. There's literally people stealing from Goodwill that they're not paying for
Mm-hmm.
stuff and we're paying for stuff. All right. Where I come from, I was poor. And when I started reselling, I felt poor, although I had more than what I had when I was a kid. Poor is a different mentality of where you place yourself and how do you want to be. And I knew the only change from what I could control was my habits. And that's when I started focusing down of if I want to change, I need to change. It's not that I'm going to wish for it or put my hands together. Praying's good, but I also knew that I had to do more actions than just speaking things into fruition. I needed to work and mend every little thing that I put into to make what I want and how I wanted to live be real. And it's been pretty easy. It just I think starting out on anything, like going, some people go to the gym. Oh, I need to go to the gym. I need to lose weight. I need to get in shape. And they put so much pressure on themselves that all it takes is
Mm-hmm.
just one step into the door. And then other people think differently to where, why do you need a gym? You got a floor. You can do sit ups. There's a road
Yeah.
outside. you could run, you could exercise. You don't need a gym, you don't need a lot of things. And when you think about the basics will take you a long way.
And we're all just here trying to figure things out, huh?
Yeah, we're all trying to survive our own battles, really.
Did you just use the word fruition and mend? Wow.
Yeah.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Well, moving on from a gentleman and a scholar, I really wanted to talk about TikTok. And for me,
Oh,
there's going to be some topics that have been coming up that have been pretty hot and spicy about the community of TikTok. And thinking about you, Carrie, and a handful of other people, Carrie as in the American arbitrage, of how they started and where they're at, of what they put in there. I think you're at around 47,000 people on TikTok. Carrie's like 100,000, maybe even million. I don't know.
American arbitrage?
But seeing
Yeah, no,
what they do
he's like
and what they
900,000.
have built on and gained from their hard work, your hard work,
Hmm.
and with the policies of banning TikTok, I feel like in a way like that sucks. But then I think deeper into it of people that are actually surviving because they didn't have this platform to strive on with what they're selling or promoting themselves as a business. I think it's going to be hurting a lot of people.
This is part of my livelihood. I make a good amount of money on TikTok.
Mm.
Um, so I'm obviously keeping tabs on this, making sure that my livelihood is protected. And if I lost TikTok, it, it'll suck or whatever. But it's not. It's only one of my several streams of income, and I definitely recommend people setting up multiple streams of income. So when things like this happen, you're hedged and you're protected, right? Even
Agree.
if TikTok gets banned, I don't think it's going to affect me in a negative way monetarily because of just the way that businesses are set up. They're immediately just going to sell it. People have already speculated who would buy it. Facebook is an obvious, Meta is an obvious company that comes to mind, but I actually don't think that the US Senate would allow Facebook to buy it because then it would be creating a monopoly because
You're right.
Facebook has
Monopoly.
already bought Instagram. They had a huge tiff about Instagram, about Facebook buying Instagram back in the day because of the monopoly or whatever. But they were able to figure it out. But I don't think that the US Senate would even allow Facebook to buy it. That's where Amazon comes into play with their AWS system and their infrastructure. They would be able to house it. But I actually think that Microsoft would make the most sense because Microsoft does purchase a lot of businesses. They just purchased, oh my gosh, I can't remember that huge video game company that they just bought like 6 months ago. Something Vision, Activision. They bought Activision.
Mm.
They make these purchases all the time, but they actually have LinkedIn, which is a business social media platform. It's literally like Instagram, but for lawyers and tech developers and bankers and stuff. A lot of you guys probably know about it. So they already have that background in social media. They already have that software and that infrastructure that I think that they could buy TikTok. And then I think they could actually monetize it and give more to creators than TikTok already is because they're already in like they're worth over $1 trillion and TikTok is only worth several hundred billion. So like they already have, I don't know. I'm like actually kind of excited about the thought of TikTok being bought out by like a Microsoft or an Amazon. I think that they may say, hey, we're not going to be able to pay creators for the first 6 months of this. So we're going to have to like kind of like adjust. And some people may lose, their living for a minute. But then I think they'll come back even stronger with more monetization opportunities and things like that. Plus, I like the idea of like a reset as well because just like the way human psychology and paths work, we're getting really nerdy and philosophical and deep onto this. I'm really sorry to the listeners, but
Go deep.
like if Elon Musk lost all of if we just took all of the money in the world and then divided it equally and we all got, let's say, $250,000, let's go play 1 year from today, there would be several billionaires and there would be a ton of homeless people. And there would be a ton of people that turn their 250,000 into 800,000. There'd be a ton of people that turn their 250,000 into $40,000 or into massive debt. That's just the way things work. Same thing if everyone just had an 11% body fat. If we woke up tomorrow with 11% body fat, 1 year from today, there would be a ton of people that had a shredded six pack at 6%. There'd be a ton of people that would have 40% body fat and be morbidly obese. I'm kind of okay with the idea of starting over on TikTok and everyone has zero followers. And I feel like if I can really understand how to grow and have that content and be on the same platform as the guys that have more than me, I feel like it could be a positive thing for me in my business. So I'm just, and I mean that as humbly as I can, just as a business owner, being prepared for the future and making moves. I think that whatever happens with TikTok, whether it stays underneath the CEO that it currently has, whether it stays under a Chinese company, or whether it gets moved to another company, or whether it gets disbanded all completely, there will be another company that comes up behind it. I think that JRide Flips is going to be okay, and I hope that other people that have TikTok also are setting up a game plan as well.
You brought it full circle with double tapping on don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
And that's where I feel like a majority of the people I know would be hit a little bit. For example,
yeah,
Chris at peak of him being kicked off of lives, and
yeah.
that
It
was
sucks.
what people were commenting, worried about him because that's where they feel he does a lot of his sales. But he also made a video talking about it, that he was kicked off TikTok lives, but he always had a backup of Facebook lives and YouTube
Yep.
lives. So now he's more active on that because he doesn't have the lives on TikTok. I know for me, I'm looking at only eBay and knickknacks right now to get rid of whatnot, not entirely, but only when I come across items that would be better for whatnot than eBay or knickknacks. I'm trying to make eBay and knickknacks more of my top tier selling platforms, and my whatnot be I'm okay to sell this if I do any get his storage units. But with TikTok, him not being live was when I was like, ouch. And he feels like AI was responsible for that, which is totally different type of
Hmm.
conversation for AI and making decisions on what affect us as resellers in the community. But me, that's where I get emotional about that's wrong of people trying to control a
Hmm.
platform for themselves out of what I feel is greed. But then I shouldn't care about it and only focus on is it going to be there and how does it work for me? Because I'm not really active on TikTok like I want to be. I'm still
Hmm.
trying to understand the difference of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and not be the same person on each to just cut out one thing, be a cookie cutter of the content that I create, edit, and share. I want it to come across different, but maybe I shouldn't. I still got to learn a lot about myself too and not overthink things.
Yeah. If you're looking for some advice, I would cookie cutter once a day and then be different on all the platforms once a day. So like just create a nice, good, like your main content for TikTok, and then also post it to Instagram and Facebook and Shorts. And then after that, getting that out once a day or 3 times a week or whatever it is, you can add additional ones. Because like I do 1 minute videos because that's the only way to get paid on TikTok. And then I post that 1 minute video to Instagram and Facebook because it's already created, and they usually do, if they do pretty well on TikTok, they do pretty well on Facebook and Instagram too. But I've actually noticed that Instagram pushes my 18 and 34-second videos much further than they push my minute and 7-second videos. So I'll put that first video on all the platforms, and then I'll go and I'll make a specific video for Instagram that's between 18 and 34 seconds because it performs better. And then I'll post that to Instagram. And then I've just found that everything that I do works good on Facebook. It does or it doesn't. Like it doesn't matter about how long it is or whatever. It's just if it's good content, if it's 7 seconds, 17 seconds, or a minute and 7 seconds, it does well. So I don't have to focus on the length. But on TikTok, I have to focus on the length, making it at least a minute. And then on Instagram, I have found that if I can cut the time in half or cut it into a fourth, it usually does better. And then the same thing for YouTube Shorts. You can't post a minute long video. So then I use those videos that do well on Instagram. I repurpose them onto Shorts as well, and that seems to work. But dude, shorts are a different beast, which is awesome. I really like working with them. But dude, I actually have a video popping off on TikTok right now that I'm excited about. I made the dumbest TikTok I have ever made. It was awesome. It'll be Monday when you guys hear about this, but go find my Walmart video on my TikTok or my Facebook page. It's oh dude, it's so stupid.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. So I do want to apologize, ladies and gents. I created a Facebook, a reseller island
Page.
page, and it needed to be a group. So we are pushing everybody over to the group. I'm going to have that pinned in the comments and in
Yeah,
the
that'd be
community
great.
tab. So my apologies for that. It was originally supposed to be a group page, and there's different reasons for it, which I think J-Red would be better to explain why it's better.
The background of creating social media pages and podcasts and stuff like that, all that background stuff is pretty annoying. It sucks. But yeah, no, yeah, everyone hop over to the group on Facebook. Again, we want this to be an island where we come together as coworkers and friends and all part of the same community. And a group on Facebook is really the second biggest part of this vision. The podcast and then also the Facebook group is where we're actually, can commingle and stuff. So we're hoping that you guys post your finds, ask questions, pump each other up, have conversations in text threads and stuff like that on the group, because it's a place where we can all just come together and chill on the island.
Yeah, I'm waiting for rants. Although I just started the group page, I'm looking forward to some rants because some of them are pretty intriguing of what messages
Yeah.
people get and the reasons
Uh-huh.
why. It's like, wow, I've never seen complaints or messages like that. I've had some dumb ones, but there's some wild ones out there.
Yep. I sold a Starbucks mug yesterday, and then I just sold a Starbucks tumbler, just barely. Looks like it's Starbucks 24 hours. But yeah, no, it's funny. There's a ton of different Facebook groups out there, and sometimes it can be a little toxic where people are like demoralizing each other, unfortunately. But a lot of times it's just like, guys, have you guys ever had a buyer this ridiculous? And those are my favorite posts to hang out
Yeah.
on and chat with. They're funny. This has been a good week. It's spring break. My wife is a full-time student, even though she already has her bachelor's degree. She's just taking extra classes so she can play one more year of soccer. Like she's literally taking like rock climbing and bread making. It's funny. But so it's her spring break. So I don't know if I look a little sunburnt or not. I usually do get sunburnt when we go on hikes and
A
stuff.
little,
But
get a little lick of
yeah,
the sun.
yeah, we've been hanging out in Zion all the last couple days. We're taking a break today, and then we're heading out to Sedona, Arizona. Sedona, Arizona is so sweet. It's freaking rad. But we got our puppy 3 years ago, and 2 days after we got her, we took a trip to Sedona and we did Devil's Bridge hike, which is a moderate to extreme hike. And she was like, oh man, she was just like 5 weeks old, and we took her on the hike with us. It was so dope. So we're really excited to go back and take her on some more hikes in Sedona and just see the growth of our dog. Because I had to like hold her like a bag of potatoes for the majority of the hike because she she was just a little puppy. It was funny. Oh man, but unfortunately in Sedona it's gonna be terrible weather. I think it's gonna be like in the 40s, which sucks. Cause let's see, let me type into Sedona here.
We're looking at going changing from Florida to Hawaii, and then after that, go back to Twin Falls, see my brother-in-law, go visit out there.
Twin Falls is
I
dope.
love Idaho. Idaho is freaking beautiful.
Yeah, Idaho's underrated. So next Saturday in Sedona it's gonna be 66, but this Saturday it's gonna be 43. So that sucks. And there's gonna be rain and snow, but we're still going. We're committed. But yeah, so you guys are going to Japan, you said?
Next year. So our
Yeah.
family that is from Hawaii, they ended up getting married and then getting restationed there because of the husband who's now he got promoted to chief warrant officer. That's who we went to go see a few months when he called and came down and said, "Hey, are we gonna go thrifting?" I was like, "Dude, literally on my way to San Diego to
Uh-huh.
go see his promotion." So he went from a Navy guy to now chief warrant officer. So
Oh
pretty
wow.
pretty big deal, and they're getting now relocated out to Japan. So next year I'll
Yeah,
be going
sweet.
out there. That'll be pretty interesting because I do want to thrift out there as well as visit.
Dude, I have a friend that's a Green Beret. That's like, Green Berets are,
Yeah,
dude,
beast.
those are crazy. And he told me some of his training stories. I don't know if I believe him, man. He said because they have to go through being tortured as part of their training. And he said that they sent him home after their training was completed, and he has a wife and kids. And then 2 days he was home for 2 nights, and then they talked with his wife beforehand, and she wasn't allowed to tell him. And then they busted into his house at 2 a.m. and abducted his wife and children, and he had to go find them as part of his training. I'm like, dude, I don't like. Is that actually real, dude? Like, holy cow! And then he said that he was getting tortured, and they literally
Who's
broke
this?
both of his pinkies as part of
I'm
his
a
training, man.
reseller. I had a set of skills.
I
I will
will
find
find
you.
I will find a Dyson, I will take it apart, and I will sell its pieces for profit. Like, I don't know if that's real, dude. That sounds fake to me, but he swears by it. He's like, yeah, man, they broke my pinkies and they freaking abducted my wife, bro. Holy cow, dude, that is so nuts.
I don't know. I've had I already forget, but he was up there. He's probably Green Beret or supervisor, executives, one of them guys up at the WIN who was in charge of armed security and stuff. But
Hmm.
he was a beast. He was a little guy, wasn't tall or anything, but he looked like the real deal. Like it didn't
Yeah.
look like anything phased him. This guy could shoot like he looked the part.
Yeah, and then my cousin, he's a Marine, but he's just a tech specialist. It's like obviously he was trained and he does all the push-ups and all that stuff, but he just sits on a desk and on a base and just makes sure the Wi-Fi is running. And he's like, it's pretty boring, but pays
Hey, I
really
like
good.
boring, man.
Paid
When
for
you get
school.
older, you appreciate boring. You don't
They call
want the
it peace.
craziness and dealing with people. You want to just be mellow and be about your business
Yep.
and enjoy your own life. So I used to be like an extreme person, just get up, just start running up mountains, just go all out. And then as I got
Yeah.
older, I'm like, I just want to chill out.
Just relax. No,
Yeah.
yeah, people talk about peace a lot here, but when I was on my mission in Mexico, we'd pray with people all the time. And when I would ask people to pray, every single person would pray for peace. Please give us peace. Allow us to have peace. I'm like, wow, that's like a really huge part of the culture. I don't really know. Like people like ask for peace and they like seek peace here, but like especially where I went in Mexico, that was like the first thing that they're like, please bless my grandma who's sick, and then give us peace like every single time. Yeah.
Peace has different definitions for individuals.
Have you seen that meme where it's like why did you choose to have a wife? And it's this African guy and he's like, I hate peace. I want problems. It's like why you
Well,
got a girl, man? I want problems. It's the best. But yeah, man, we'll see what actually ends up happening to TikTok. It's something that I'll be obviously monitoring closely because I hope it all works out. I don't want to get super political, but apparently they're like they want to shut it down because China is stealing all our information, and that's totally true. And I don't enjoy that that's going on, but I really think it's just because of all the lobbyists and hey, like shut down this Chinese company so us American companies can make more money, and we'll give you guys money to vote in this way, so that way we can get more money. I think that's mainly what's going on because all these guys that talk about freedom of speech and First Amendment and stuff, and it's like, oh, but let's ban it. Let's ban some of that. It just doesn't make a lot of
people are
sense.
having too much freedom, getting away free news and not being charged for it. And
Uh,
I can see a whole bunch of different directions of why companies would want it shut down to
oh
benefit
yeah, for
them.
sure. And as an investor in a lot of these major tech companies, it would heavily profit them to take out a TikTok that's owned by a Chinese company, but because there's just a lot of and now a ton of market share to absorb and stuff. But hope people learn stuff.
Yeah,
Hope the
this was a
island
good
is.
talk. Really interesting about just different things and differences between your experience and my own, and not just reselling, but life as well, and like how
Mhm.
our mind works and how we react to things and what what our focuses are. It's always
Yep.
fascinating to learn and talk to other people, which is why I like the podcast. And the idea about it was looking at not so much of like let me be a voice of whatever I want to talk about, but more of understanding who you are and the ideology of business, because I know I lack on it and I know I could do good. I do great on my own, but I know if I just learn some more about like content creating business, I could do so much. But to me, I'm seeing one of the big reasons why I'm not as successful as I know I can be is because of just lack of effort.
Yep. And then once you do start doing more, you just got to avoid the pitfalls of burnout and doing too
Mm.
much. You don't want to snap. You just want to bend.
Bend, yeah, bend,
Bend into
folks.
shape. Don't snap into shape. You guys probably noticed we have headphones. I just double tapped that, so I hope it didn't mess anything up.
No, it's still there.
Idiot. But yeah, we're hoping that we fix some audio issues, and I'm hoping that we can title this "We Fixed Our Audio Reseller Island Podcast." I'm hoping that can be the title, or our audio is just gonna suck again. But we really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us, even when our audio isn't the best, because hasn't been very good the first 3 episodes, but we're hoping this fourth episode will be really good.
Yeah, we're figuring it out, folks, and we are super happy that you are all joining us, and this channel is growing, or this podcast is growing, because it's not something we're looking at it as wasting your time. We want it to be beneficial and something you could come and rely on to help you have somebody to join you as you're listing items and doing what it is you're doing in the community and working towards. So, thank you for being here with us every
I
time.
gotta pee, so we're gonna hop off.
You got to pee.
See you guys.